So how do you, as an attorney, how do I go about finding a web development company that fits best with my firm and my practice?
Well, at first, you're probably going to be on the web doing research for it. So one of the keys is going to be, how quickly did you find that web developer's website?
You don't want to just pick the first one you come to?
Well, you may not. But odds are, if in that search he's on page 30, he's not going to be able to get you on page 1. He doesn't even know how to do it for himself. So how's he going to help you with it? That's a factor, but not the overriding one. Look at the developer's site itself. Does it conform to all the types of things that we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Where it's not built in Flash, where it's not in frames, where it doesn't have slow loading speeds. Look at his portfolio. If he doesn't have a portfolio published on his website, ask yourself, why not? In the portfolio, is he exclusively dealing with legal entities? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be law firms per se. We do things besides just law firms. We do bar associations, legal help groups, but things that are related to the law field. This is generally an important factor because they're going to have the experience, and I'm sure we'll talk about that more later. Look at their credentials.
Yeah.
What type of certifications do they have?
So what are some certifications? Because I don't understand. I know that as a lawyer, we go and get JDs. You know, we go through 4 years of undergraduate, we go through 3 years of a rigorous program, and then we've got to pass the state bar at the end. And then when we come out, we have this, you know, this aura of certification about us. And the attorney, you know, all the clients think we know exactly what we're doing because we have these great education and these great credentials. So what should attorneys be looking for? Is there a certain credentialing program, or is there a designation?
I wish. I wish it was that simple. In a sense, not only attorneys, but dentists, even chiropractors have to go through a certain process to be able to hang the shingle up on the wall. With web development, that's not the case. The fact is there are no governing bodies that can require any certifications, which leads to a problem that you need to be on the lookout for, we call cousins. Often we'll hear from an attorney and say, well, you know, I'm thinking of updating my website, and it turns out that it was built by his secretary's cousin. And this is some kid, maybe it's still in high school, that, you know, knew how to put together HTML or build in Flash and put it up there.
Well, that seems how everybody got their first website built about 5 or 10 years ago.
In the beginning, that was the case because there were few firms that catered to law firms, and it was also a relatively new industry.
And there wasn't that many capabilities. So like you said, a lot of firms were just brochure sites, and that's why the cousins could do it, because it was something that was so basic that one person could handle all the functionality of that website because it was copy on a page for the most part.
There are individual organizations, though. I'm going to give you, for instance, and this might be a little plug for them, I don't know. Bruce Clay is a company that was at the forefront of search engine optimization back in late 90s. Mr. Clay, has written articles, is published everywhere, and they have a set of classes that once you go through that and then graduate, you then also are able to use the tools they use. So in search engine optimization, association with Bruce Clay would be a good thing. There's also, for instance, for the designer, for the look and feel guys, there's the HTML Writers Guild. There are lists that show, even if they're not certifications, and some of them do give you the permission to use seals on their websites and a little plaque to put in your office and all that, but they're not required. But what they do show you as a potential client to that firm is that these people take what they do seriously, that they have ongoing education. Because the reality is that our business changes very quickly. And
that those people are here for the long haul. They're not just jumping into this because it's today's fad.
That's
and
right.
They're going to be out tomorrow when something else comes along.
Which brings up another point. How long has this web partner been in business?
That's a great idea.
If you go to a site and it's obvious that, you know, the first site that they built, or it actually says it on there, was 2 years ago, what's going to happen 2 years from now?
Yeah.
On the other hand, you're dealing with a firm that's been around 10, 12, 13 years. It's harder to get much older than that in this industry. There wasn't much of a web 14, 15 years ago. But in our terms, that's a long time. The fact is that web development firms usually come and go very quickly. A lot of people, venture capitalists even, especially during the dot-com explosion in the early 2000s, saw web development as a lucrative field, dumped millions of dollars into it, and the fact is there wasn't that kind of return, and they disappeared as quickly as most of their clients did. So longevity shows something. Another question you can ask is, okay, your firm has been around for 10 years, but how long have the individuals that make up the firm been with the firm?
Even bigger point, definitely.
We live in an industry that really the norm is churn and burn. Employees tend to come very quickly and go very quickly. Many of them are young and they see a very non-traditional, compared to when I was growing up, type of career path.
Definitely.
The gold watch after 20 years is just not a reality anymore. And for them, they see, well, you know what, I'll work up to a certain position here, and then I'll leverage that on my resume to get a new job rather than to wait for the next promotion here. Think what you may of that type of career path, and my job isn't to criticize that. The fact is, if people have been with the firm for quite a while, that tells you a lot about the firm's stability. It also tells you a lot about how well that team is integrated.
Just going to say that team must work well if they're still all working together, because it's, yeah, like you use a sports analogy, whether it's sports or anything, it's hard to keep teams together because it's hard to bring people to mesh together. So if you can bring it all under one house and they all do work well together, that's definitely got to be a good sign.
One of the other things that you really want to focus on is references. Just seeing the website in their portfolio, that's only a first step. You want to be able to actually talk with previous clients. Ask them, what kind of responsiveness do you get from the firm? How quickly do issues get resolved? The fact of the matter is, in all programming, there's always bugs and glitches that come up. Avoiding those is just not a realistic possibility.
Yeah,
they happen. The question is, how quickly do they get fixed?
How attentive are they?
Yeah, when you need to make updates, when you need to make changes, do they get back at you very quickly? And finally, just because your potential web partner firm that you're looking at is large and or associated with another company, whether it's an advertising agency, a company that does law libraries for the last 100 years, doesn't necessarily make them the perfect fit for you. Their overall name that they come from may be a trusted name in that field, but that field is that field.
Yeah.
This is the field that you want to focus on.
Yeah.
And what we found was, from the early 2000s on, many firms, whether they were public relations firms, advertising firms, law library firms, jumped on the bandwagon and said, me too, yeah, we can do that too. Well, do you really want someone who can do it too? You want a firm that this is their core competency, that this is how they survive.